Hey, what's up guys? Sir Emanon here, and we are back with some more Reddit Championship Series gameplay. This is now the top 4 match of the second edition of this tournament, and continuing with the trend of trying to bring you as little Secret Slayers decks as possible, we have a top 4 matchup that actually features a meta deck of old. So today for you guys, we have Sky Striker up against Synchro Eldlich, and with me for co-commentary as per usual, we have MBT Yu-Gi-Oh! How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Always good to be commentating high-level matches, and always good to be commentating a deck that isn't exactly Synchro Eldlich or Adamancipator. We only get one of them, but I am very happy to commentate Sky Striker, a sentence I never would have expected myself to utter a year and a half ago.
Yeah, exactly. Sky Striker. Sometimes you live long enough to see yourself turn from the villain to the hero, and this is where we are now, about 2 years later. But yeah, on the screen right now, you guys can see the top 16 breakdown as we've been showing to you guys in the past couple of matches here. And yeah, with Synchro Eldlich and Eldlich in general just taking up the vast majority of the pool, it's no surprise that one of them has managed to eke its way into the top 4. Granted, you know, how strong the combo is and how strong and recursive the Eldlich engine is. It's very, very powerful for a reason.
And honestly, if I had to pick a deck that would give the top two decks a run for its money, it might be Sky Striker. It's seen a non-zero percentage of top cuts since people have kind of figured out what they want to be doing with the deck. Access code is a heck of a card, and of course, Mystic Mine features heavily, probably more in this deck than any other.
Absolutely. And because the tournament, as of recording this video, is actually over, we are able to show you guys the deck lists as well. So on screen right now, you guys can actually see the Sky Striker list. And it's pretty straightforward. We see 3 Mystic Mine here in the main deck. Not too much else going on. We see things like, you know, Heat Waves in the side, which is pretty interesting for possibly going first. And, you know, there can be only one Solemn Judgment, just more options to flood your opponent out if they make you go first, since of course this is a blind second list. So nothing too crazy here. And meanwhile, the Synchro Eldlich list is also fairly standard. It's pretty interesting running a Deskbot 3 package to be able to grab Deskbot 1 from the deck. And this is the Librarian combo that seeks to end on multiple draws, going into the, of course, Savage was Herald line. A lot of players actually recently have been cutting Deskbot 1 entirely in favor of going for a combo that runs through 2 O-lines to be able to play around Nibiru better. So this is, of course, an adaptation of the build before the newer developments have taken place, since this tournament has lasted over a month now. But other than that, pretty standard overall.
Yeah, obviously Despot 001 was an early outlier in terms of its interaction between Mecha Phantom-Beast Auroradon and itself, the ability to go into additional synchros at any stage in the game. However, I do think the natural evolution for this deck is to remove the bad cards, like 003, and just re-engineer what the combo lines look like. That said, after commentating a whole bunch of matches in which players were playing off-the-wall techs, both in their mains, sides, and extra decks, it's nice to sit down and be able to say 003 is the craziest thing these players are packing.
Yeah, for all it's worth, for the most part, these lists are fairly run-of-the-mill for what we've come to expect from these 2 decks. So without further ado, let's just not waste any more time and get into the gameplay. Right, so it looks like Arashel, the Sky Striker player, has won the die roll and is probably going to opt to go second, I would imagine.
Yeah, this is kind of a new development in how Sky Striker plays. As the search off of Shizuku has started to matter so much more, they don't necessarily want to be going first and ending on, you know, just a normal board. In order to play against these really, really powerful combo decks, you need a huge equalizer as well. So the ability to flex stuff like Lightning Storm, even as early as Game 1, Mystic Mines in the main deck, etc., and actually use the effect of access code talker is pretty much unparalleled.
Yep, and we definitely see that a lot of the striker cards just in general get a lot more value when you're going second, right? You have cards like Afterburner, you have cards like, you know, Widow and Shark Cannon if you want to use them for aggressive pushes, as you mentioned with access code, and like, of course, Hayate is, you know, not really gonna do anything going first. Striker is definitely well positioned to go second, especially when you throw in, you know, 12, 14 hand traps. So that's definitely the way that Striker has, you know, adapted to suit the metagame.
It's frustrating because it used to be just setting 3 and ending on Shizuku was good enough, but against decks that are just so much more competent, so much more able to make unbreakable boards, you really have to be eking every bit of advantage out of every one of your cards, and you can't do that on the play.
Yeah, and one interesting thing in Chase Khan's hand, the Synchro Eldlich player, is Phantasme, which is a card that is actually going to, get a lot of value in this matchup. Historically, it's been very good. Striker has difficulty clearing it, so we'll see how this shakes out. If Synchro Eldlich can end on the normal board. This is a very good hand. Of course, we have Tuning, the Golden Lord himself, and Cursed Eldland, so this is
Wow.
more than full combo. And we also have a Phantasme to back it up. So very, very strong stuff coming out of Synchro Eldlich. Right, so they're
So
gonna
what
leave.
I'm
Up, go.
excited to see is when the Ash comes down, because if the Ash is activated on the tuning, this hand is actually kind of mediocre. We'll see the patience out of Aeroshell and what they expect to do.
Yep. So Curse is gonna come down. I don't really think that that's gonna get met with Ash. It's
Right.
very, very, suboptimal. It's gonna go ahead and grab a Conquistador, and then Tuning is gonna come down next, and that is actually going to be met with Ash. So, as you mentioned, now the hand is significantly weaker. It is kind of risky to hit Tuning because Tuning is of course not once per turn, and they also can just hard draw the Jet Synchron. So there is a bit of risk involved, but in this case, it did pay off.
Oh, absolutely. And now the hand is looking pretty miserable. It's probably just going to be a Conquistador pass, I'd imagine.
Yeah, not a whole lot you can really do, and it looks like it is going to be just setting Conquistador and passing. Luckily, there is a Phantasme to help mitigate some of that pressure.
This is exactly where the Sky Striker pilot wants to be. They get to weave through all of their combos without any threat of anything but hand traps, really. They have to play through, what, one negate maximum? I mean, this is excellent.
Yep, and we see that the striker player has drawn the combo, quote unquote, of Area Zero and Ray. So the classic interaction, tagging out Ray in response to Area Zero's effect into Hayate, and then Area Zero will grab us a Shark Cannon, pretty good against things like Jet Synchron.
Yeah, Shark Cannon has a lot of utility in this matchup, just because if you can profitably activate it against the Eldlich, that's kind of your win condition. Striker doesn't have too much of a problem setting up enough negation and interaction to play through the Synchro board. Making sure that it's always going to win the grind game is kind of the name of the game.
Exactly, and ideally in a game state like this, we can try and close out the game. Hopefully by next turn, if we can go for Hauke Fibrax line. But for now, it's gonna just be Hayate poking for 15, and it looks like we're going to be sending a Jamming Waves.
Jamming Waves is nice. We can go ahead and pop that copy of Conquistador. We're going to go ahead and add the jamming back to hand, and I imagine activate it afterwards.
Yep, gonna hit the Conquistador, which of course, if you're Eldritch, you're not too upset about that either, because of course, the spells and traps are notorious for just floating almost infinitely.
I think we're likely going into Shizuku. The ad here is going to be pretty interesting. If they think they can end it next turn, they'll probably get Widow Anchor. If they think it'll last a couple more, they'll be activating its effect to get something like a multi-roll. But the Phantasme coming down is going to complicate things massively.
Yeah, absolutely, and we can see, we could even shuffle dead cards back. We could possibly shuffle back this duplicate Phantasme and keep the O-line so we can have another Hauke Fibrax line for the next turn. See what ends up happening. It looks like the elixir of Black Awakening is going to be shuffled back.
Well, I don't like that at all. At minimum, it just enables the copy of Eldlich in hand. Looks like we're going to go for an Afterburners here on the Phantasme. I'd imagine you'd probably negate that with one of the garbage cards in your hand, but no, letting that resolve as well.
Pretty interesting. So if he had if Chase had opted to keep the Elixir Black Awakening, that could have been discarded for the Phantasme, and that could have gotten an extra card next turn as well. So possibly, maybe some future planning that could have happened there, but it looks like Shizuku's just going to go ahead and grab Widow Anchor.
And then, of course, at end step, we'll activate the effect of Conquistador to go ahead and search what is probably going to be a Scarlet Sanguine.
Yep. And we're going to go ahead and see a Nibiru drawn for turn, which is, historically pretty bad against Striker. Granted, if, Hauke Fibrax ends up coming down, this could end up seeing, moderate use, but likely going to be sided out in games 2 and 3.
Yeah, I would imagine. All right, where do you go from here? You can't even get the Elixir out of the hand without, or the Eldlich out of the hand without activating Cursed Outland first. I mean, woof.
Yeah, it looks like that's going to have to be the play here. And definitely going to be used going and grabbing a Hawkero.
Here is a good get. We'll go ahead and roll for the Eldlich, see which of the set cards we're going to hit. And unfortunately for you, it was the Shark Cannon. We'll be able to chain it and banish this copy of Eldlich from the graveyard.
Yeah, that's about as good as things get for Striker here. Looks like the response is going to be a Scarlet, so we can, dodge the Shark Cannon there.
In fact, Eldlixir of Scarlet Sanguine can summon from either deck or graveyard. Each Eldlixir summons from 2 locations. Unfortunately, I think you probably want to be getting the one from deck almost always, but at the very least, you don't lose the Eldlich that's in the grave here.
Yep, and from here we could possibly normal summon something like an O-Lion to go ahead and try and go for Halka line. You do have to possibly fear like another Widowmaker set perhaps, or definitely hand traps because it is Striker we're talking about here. But
Looks like we're just going to end phase.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Gonna go to end phase, and with no real interaction other than the Phantasme, Striker kind of has free reign over the board here.
I really don't like that. I mean, if you're Eldlich, wow, fantastic rip, by the way. If you're Eldlich, you really have to flex the fact that your deck is just so much more competent than Striker and so much more able to put up these unbreakable boards. It'd be like an Adamancipator player going for the grind game against Striker. No deck is going to outgrind Striker.
Yeah, especially when, we see, of course, the top deck multi-roll. That is the ultimate grinding tool. Yep. Easy game, and it looks like we're going to go ahead and go for Kagari. Now, Kagari has several good targets. We can go ahead and add back any number of these. It looks like the target's going to be Afterburner, and that's going to be met with a Phantasme.
Complicates things a little bit, but it's not that big of a deal. I mean, Afterburners is probably going to accomplish what it wants to anyway. Finally, we find a copy of Jet Synchron alongside a 001. I would imagine we're putting one of those 2 back.
Yep. It looks like
the O-Lion!
Yeah, the O-Lion, not too terribly surprising there. And Afterburner going to be picked up, of course, off the Kagari. We're going to normal summon the Moonlit Chill, telegraphing a Halka play, which, might actually turn on the Nibiru.
Shocking, but also not the position you want to be Nibiruing in from the Eldlich player, losing a whole bunch of your monsters in the process. Gonna activate Halka for an effect Veiler, and what do you know, those 2 monsters make a Selene.
Yep. And even if Striker gets Nibiru'd here, we still have multi-roll, we still have Area 0 to get rid of the token, and we still have plays available to us. Like, you can Area away the token, and then multi-roll away the area, and get back on our Striker engine, so, just like that, it would have been like Nibiru didn't really do a whole lot other than just lose out access to, access code, but looks like Celine's gonna bring back the Veiler, and then we're going to go for the access code, which is probably when Nibiru will end up coming down on resolution of the first effect, and that is what's going to happen.
But terrible news. Chaining the Eagle Booster with nothing in the monster zone means that the access code is going to live, but the Eldlich player is going to wipe their own board.
Oh man, I didn't even think about the Eagle Booster. That's crazy. So yeah.
Painful. Were they on 5 for the Selene summon? Because if so, that's obviously the point at which you do it.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see.
It was Kagari, Moonlit Chill, Halka Veiler, Selene. Yeah, that should have been the point.
Rough. So, yeah, with Selene summoning back the Veiler, that was the 6th summon, so that's the point where you could have Nibiru'd there. I can understand, wanting to maximize the value in terms of actually getting rid of the access code, but man, seeing that Eagle Booster definitely hurts.
An amazing punish, and now doesn't even have the ability to stop the follow-up Afterburners. We can use access code to pop something here, Afterburners to clear the remainder of the field, and yeah, that's going to be game 1.
Wow, and off the back of Eagle Booster, which is a card that honestly a lot of players have cut, especially like in going second variants just like this one, but Aeroshell proving to, have a very strong case for it as far as just protecting your biggest push.
Right. I don't want to talk down to either player, of course. You had to be extremely good to get this far in such a large field. But clearly, Aeroshell has a mastery of this Sky Striker deck that is really netting them extremely good results here. We'll see if they can keep it up, of course. And this hand looks a lot less likely to take a game.
Yeah, this is this is one of those Striker hands that you kind of look at and wish you were on possibly something else right now, because no access to any Striker monster means that you're just gonna have to try and play the long game with your hand traps and your your disruption cards. We're gonna set a couple and just pass it back.
The Eldlich player absolutely correct in making the striker player go first here. Set to pass, not really where you want to be.
Yep. And we see quick draw Synchro, which is something that I think a lot of people have recently started to cut, but this is a card that, of course, can serve as a very good extender. And when you draw it in tandem with stuff like Jet Synchron or like O-Lion or 001, you can just get more value by sending those cards to the graveyard and just getting easy access to Halqifibrax. We have a lot of our Synchrons because we drew Tuning as well. So it's going to grab the other Jet Synchron out of the deck. And milling 001.
001 the mill. Hey, easiest play of my life, baby.
Man, must be nice. And the striker player opted to not set the Shark Cannon so that they wouldn't lose to things like Evenly or Lightning Storm. But man, with so many good targets here, it kind of hurts a little bit to see.
It's one of those scenarios where, like, yeah, you probably have to not set it because there's so many massive blowouts. But boy, is the punish so punishing. They're going to get back the Jet Synchron. They're going to go for a Halqifibrax. It'll likely eat an Effect Veiler, but I don't know if that'll even be enough.
Yeah, it looks like, Arashel just, not even going to bother with it, seeing possibly that, the 001 being in graveyard, marks just further extension. And it looks like Veiler is going to be summoned off of this Halqifibrax here.
Only on 2 Jet? I guess that could be the case, especially after boarding.
Yep, only on 2 Jet. So, looks like we're going to go into Link Cross, and then Link Cross effect will grab tokens, going into copy of Formula. There is no Martial Metal Marcher actually in this list, so we're going to bring back Link Rebo.
And I kind of like this. It's a little bit of an interesting development, but Martial Metal Marcher eats up a lot of slots in the extra deck. It doesn't really do much if you're already on Formula Synchron and aiming to summon a 1. Barricade Borg Blocker is just such a fantastic card and already gets you to a Auroradon, which will certainly be the Effect Veiler target.
Yep, and it looks like it's just going to be held for that point. Kind of have to stop this one, and
yeah,
it looks like it's going to be a swing and a pass on 2 set. Actually 3 set because we pitched a Conquistador off of the Jet. So
frustrating, but now we've got Dawn. We've got access to pretty much everything we could ever hope for in terms of Sky Striker interruption. This looks quite bad for our striker friend.
Yep, and not to mention there is once again Phantasme in the hand, so just more pain to deal with, and a pretty good discard outlet for Phantasme if need be in the Jet Synchron.
Looks like Cosmic, the Sang at end step, that's pretty good. It might choke off the ability to get to Eldlich, at least this turn. Yeah. But if you're making a push, it's got to be now.
And kind of hard to do that if you don't have striker cards or striker monsters, but let's see if this upstart will find anything.
All right, here we go.
And it's a Widow Anchor.
Very good card, but probably not going to do it. We do get to Jamming Waves here to force out likely a Cosmic Cyclone or something. Not even going to activate the Hawk, no reason to. We'll take the Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon. It could tribute itself, I suppose, but that's not very good.
Yeah, let's see if RSL is going to chain the Shark Cannon to this to try and go just for an access code, to just push damage.
It'd be an access code for 1. 2 fun facts about the way access code talker works. Firstly, it doesn't have to target a monster in your graveyard. It can target one in your opponent's. So it will be able to get that huge attack boost. And secondly, Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon does not have any clause that prevents it from being link summoned with. Its activated effect is that you can't link summon for the rest of the turn. So it is easy link material for something like an access code.
Absolutely. And we see that Chase Con is thinking here because access code activates on its summon and you can't respond to it, so that's why Phantasme wasn't dropped there. But it looks like Cosmic is going to just be activated to get rid of the Widow Anchor, before access code has a chance to pop it.
This is cool, but also the end of the game. Access code's going to get in for 5,300. They'll pass turn, and then the Eldlich player will be able to just massively kill them on the backswing.
Actually, this Cosmic wasn't even that necessary because there are no Link monsters in the graveyard of the Striker player. It can technically banish itself, but I mean, probably don't want to do that.
Do, yeah.
Alright, and of course, Valkyria is going to be activated at end phase, and this is more than likely going to be the end of the game.
Another Cosmic off the top. Insult to injury here. The Jet Synchron should be enough.
Yep, we're going to go ahead and tribute the Jet Synchron away for the Link Rebo and Grave, and then use the Jet, and then go into yet another Crystron Halka for Brex.
I love that Eldlich pilots have just doubled up on the combo because they have the space in the extra deck. It's very silly.
Yeah, and you know, might as well, right? Because you're going to get hand trapped more often than not, so just having extra contingencies is always a good idea. And
ooh, and an access code of their own, just not activating the effect of Rorodon, using it as a generic Link 3. Good enough.
Yep, and with 4,900 life points, that is certainly going to be it. And we're going to go into a game number 3.
So this is great news for the Striker pilot. You always want to be winning your games. Game ones as Striker, I mean, you do in every deck, but in Striker specifically, because the ability to have these huge sweepers like Nibiru in Game 3, as well as the ability to access stuff like Hayate is just so critical. And unfortunately, it looks like the Eldlich pilot has maybe misboarded a little bit with stuff like Lightning Storm.
Yeah, as Striker, you definitely can expect that they want to go second. So it's curious that Lightning Storm has been left in here. Especially with things like Cursed Eldland, you know, probably going to persist on the board face up for a while. It makes you wonder how much value this Lightning Storm is going to get throughout the duration of the game.
I suppose we'll find out.
Alright, looks like it is going to be a pass just to keep, you know, keep that Lightning Storm alive and not play into it evenly. So, you know, perhaps just trying to plan for a turn behind.
No, unironically, I really do like it. I feel like, you know what, is Sky Striker going to OTK you from board of nothing? Like, they're going to go all the way through Halka Fibrax and get to access code and put an additional 3,000 on board? I don't think so.
Yeah, very hard to do when, you know, there's nothing in Graveyard to steal with Shark Cannon, and, like, the only real way to get a Striker monster without your normal summon is multi-roll and area. So, it's very, very unlikely that you get OTK from this position, so a pretty heads-up play given the circumstances. We're going to see a Rhoda...
I might have to eat my words.
We're going to see a Rhoda grab a Ray, and then, of course, the best combo in Striker. Going to go ahead and grab a Hayate, as well as a copy of Afterburner off of the Area 0.
That's an okay one, but obviously would have preferred pretty much anything else in a hand that already includes an Afterburner.
Yep, and it looks like Hayate's going to get in. Oh, it looks like Rose is going to be summoned on Resolution because Hayate was summoned. And we're just going to get in for 3k.
Rose has been an interesting addition to the deck. It doesn't do a whole lot for the strategy, but the fact that it pushes for damage alongside the fact that it just exists as another Sky Striker name is just so valuable to an archetype that otherwise only has 3 main deck monsters.
Yeah, it really just helps out with the consistency, and we see Kagari going to be adding back the Shark Cannon that was dumped off the Hayate.
Going for Zeke just to clear out the main monster zone. Hilarious.
Yeah. Alright, and I do believe RSL is on the Hercules base, so even though most players are only on one Zeke, not too big of a problem for this specific version of the build. Can easily just put that back whenever needed. So it looks like Shizuku is going to be activated at end phase to grab Widow Anchor. And, you know, feeling alright from Striker's perspective, given the fact that any, you know, Needle Fiber combo is going to be met with Nibiru. And we have pretty good follow-up plays for next turn.
Lightning Storm is only okay. Like, Twin Twister and Lightning Storm are weird against Sky Striker because obviously you want to be destroying their spells and traps, but good Striker pilots will just not commit anything to the board. So Lightning Storm here does what? Destroys one set card that you know the identity of, and a field spell that can float into a Ray if need be. Twin Twister does exactly the same thing, just not very strong.
Yeah, and definitely like these backrow decks, or these traditional backrow decks like Sky Striker and even like Altergeist, for example, they've adapted to incorporate so many hand traps that like these backrow disruption cards, yeah, they're still good against the engine, like the searchable cards, but there's always going to still be forms of disruption left lying in wait. Alright, so looks like Chase is thinking, and Cosmic is going to be the first card. It's going to
banish does get the Shark Cannon. That's pretty good.
Yep, Shark Cannon removed from the game. Looks like Cursed Eldland is going to be next. It's going to grab...
Kind of running out of life points here as well.
Yeah, this is actually surprisingly... That was surprisingly a lot of life from the 2 attacks as well as the 1800 paid just now. So, got to be careful for an access code push. Looks like we're going to go ahead and try and send away the Shizuku. And Ray is, of course, going to come back.
It's just weird to me. It feels like you've just kind of lost the Lightning Storm as anything but a Twin Twister discard at this point. If you were aiming to do this play, you might as well fire the Lightning Storm to get the Shizuku off the field.
Yeah, could definitely be a case for that. And we see that, in this case, Chase is going to go ahead and try and follow up with an Eldlich play to get the Cursed off the field to try and just cycle through the Eldlich cards, because we're not really playing the Synchro portion of the deck as far as this hand is concerned. It looks like
unsurprisingly, I think Ray will tag out here.
Yep, and probably gonna go into looks like Hayate. Interesting. So going for a send for next turn, because we of course have another copy of Ray in hand, so we don't really need to worry about using something like Kaina.
Right, so we're gonna send jamming waves. That's fantastic against the Twin Twister that I'm sure the Eldlich pilot was hoping to flex as interaction on the next turn. Otherwise, they basically have none of it.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and I believe banish both the Scarlet and the Conquistador. So there is technically one disruption here. Looks like Quackera is gonna be the choice. And one of the really
fine.
Yeah, one of the really good things in this matchup actually for Striker is that Conquistador is actually like not that good, because you think about it, right? Like all the Striker links float. You don't really want to be popping Area 0. The only real card you want to pop is Multi-Roll, but they don't get that card until much later into the game now. So
like the point that they find Multi-Roll, the game is already over.
Yeah, definitely. So you see Huaquero, coming down to try and just disrupt Ray, but with Ray already in the hand, it's just so sticky. Alright, looks like we could go straight into Kagari, not even wasting any time. Gonna grab back the jamming wave, and it looks like that's gonna be the banish off the Huaquero here.
Yeah, that's okay. It's fine, but again, it really doesn't accomplish anything close to what you want to here. We can go to Hayate and bring them to a clean 17, pass on a whole bunch of disruption. I mean, there's just so much you can accomplish here. Widow Anchor is fantastic. Is this potentially lethal?
Yeah, I mean, we have double Widow Anchor and Shark Cannon, which, the Shark Cannon's not going to really be able to do a whole lot here, but we can definitely take the Eldlich at the very least and try and do something with that. Looks like we're going to pop the Huaquero and going to go and link into Hayate.
So it doesn't look like we're trying to win the game this turn. We might even just expend a Widow Anchor to force out the Scarlet Sanguine. The Eldlich would trade, but I don't know. Seems pretty optimistic.
Looks like we're just going to hold it and set our back row and just go into Shizuku and then pass it back. So Shizuku, looks like Twin Twister are going to come down though. So not too bad here, getting of course the main disruptors. So equalizing the board just a little bit.
And I don't know about this. I think I probably would not have wanted to keep a Widow Anchor in hand this late in the game. I mean, what are you realistically still concerned about while your opponent has cards on their side of the field? They can't evenly, they can't Lightning Storm. Keeping the Anchor in hand plays around very little.
Yeah, it looks like Scarlet is going to go ahead and grab Ash, which is one of the cool things that you can do, because that threatens Halka-Fibrax very, very, very obviously.
Well, the good news for the Striker pilot is that they have also drawn the card that interacts with it.
Yep, so looks like Despot 003 going to be picked up, so just more ways to get into Hulk, of course, after using that Scarlet last turn. But going into Hulk, of course, and this is going to go through most definitely. You have to think that Nibiru is going to be dropped at some point later down the line, such as an Auroradon. And it looks like we're going to commit the 003 as well, so this really definitely plays into Nibiru quite hard.
Is this 5 right here? I would consider Nibiruing now.
Let's see, it was 1 off the Hulk, 2 off the Jet, 3 for 4. So yeah, this is going to be the 5th summon right here.
Ooh, and the 5th summon unfortunately is a negate.
Yeah, that's a pretty heads up play, because 003 and 001 just cleanly make Herald. So it's actually a very, very strong play here. Going into, of course, Auroradon afterward, and we already have the 001 engraved, so we can of course go into Savage as well.
Oh, are they going to be able to assemble an OTK from here? God, just feel like if we had set that additional Widow Anchor, we'd be winning. But I believe there's a DC here, and they have to engineer the game state real quick.
Yeah, it looks like that is it. So we'll be back with the second portion of the replay in just a sec here. Alright, and just like that, through the magic of Dueling Book admin powers, we have actually managed to just redo the entire game state here. So despite the disconnect, we do see that the exact same board is here, and Despot 001 has just resolved, so they're going to continue in Chase's main phase 1. Rorodon is going to tribute 2 to grab O-Line from deck. And it looks like instead of going into Savage, we're going to go into an Axel Synchron to go into Savage.
If there's a way to find an OTK, this is the way to do it.
Yeah, leaving the Aurorodon on the field for the extra damage. So definitely going to be quite a lot here. This is a big Savage and a Despot 001 that is on 15. I'm not sure if it's going to be game through the Ray Engrave, but it is going to be close.
So we can negate either the Nibiru or the Ray, but not both, obviously.
Yeah, so if you're Arshel, I think you still have to fire off Nibiru. Yeah, it looks like it is going to come down. And let's see. Savage is going to be the one negating it. So it looks like we're going to hold Herald for the Ray. Up. And oh yeah, since it is technically the first turn, since they were repairing the game state, it won't let him go to battle phase. So we are in battle phase, just to be clear here. So Savage is going to
use your imagination.
Yeah, so Savage attacks the Shizuku. And Ray is going to activate. That's going to be met by Herald. And then Aurorodon's going to attack. And the Lord is going to attack. And that is, in fact, enough damage for the game.
Wow, incredible. An extremely heads-up play around the Nibiru, and that's going to do it. Eldlich Synchro advances over Sky Striker, while I had hoped to see non-Secret Slayers matchup in finals. Of course, it is always nice to be reminded why the two best decks are the two best decks.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just see, off the back of, just a couple of cards that enable, the Hauke Fibrax plays, a lot can get done. That was off of, a Scarlet summoning an Ash and a top deck 003. So, just like that, the game turned around really, really fast. And the Twin Twister actually ended up, doing a lot of work there.
Yeah, I was commenting on how miserable it seemed, but it straight up won the game.
Yeah, so that is going to do us here for the top 4 matchup. Definitely be sure to check out MBT's channel. Link will be, of course, in the description. There will be finals there, as well as the other matches in case you've missed them. And one final announcement, if you guys have stuck around in the video for this long, right after the conclusion of this tournament, there will actually be a Reddit non-meta tournament. So signups will be going up, I believe, this Thursday, July the 16th. And there is a custom ban list, so be on the lookout for that. There will be a post in the Yu-Gi-Oh subreddit by then. So hopefully you guys will participate, join in with some fun if you guys are not particularly interested in seeing more Secret Slayers decks. Any final words?
Yeah, ban Deskbot 001. Clearly, that's the problem.
All right, so that's going to do it for us here. We'll see you guys next time.